Welcome to Raging Bullets, a DC Comics fan podcast, episode 696. The road to 700 continues. Welcome to Raging Bullets. I'm Sean Whalen, drnorge, and I'm joined as always by my co-host Jim, the sensei of the whatnot, the master of speculation, the duke of the sultan of strategery, the bridge-defying. Cannot wait to announce on this episode what we're going to do for 700, and he remains the elder statesman of the podcast, Segulin.
How's it going, eh?
Jim, on this episode, we are going to be discussing Green Lantern #1 and Spirit World #1. Also, why don't we just jump right into it? We came up with a pretty fun idea for episode 700 to make it something special. And it's something I went back through our episodes. I'm like, we really never talked about this. We're going to do a watch-along with the Batman 66 movie for episode 700. And it's kind of fitting because I've kind of had diarrhea of the mouth over the fact that Batman 66 was my gateway into this. I was shocked. We never talked about the Batman 66 movie on this show. I mean, we've talked about it, but never really.
We never did a watch along with it.
Yeah.
So that's going to be actually kind of fun.
Yeah. When was the last time you saw that?
Oh boy, it has been many, many, many years.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know because of the podcast I watched it.
Okay.
But I don't know what, because that was when I was thought. Because I remember, because of the podcast, I remember watching it, and I remember laughing my head off on some of the stupid stuff in it. But
I'm shocked that we never watched it.
That's why I was surprised that we never did that. That's why I had to ask you, hey, have we done this? Because I'm because I remember watching it because of the show.
Yeah.
But I don't remember us doing a watch along.
I don't either.
Yeah.
And I think that's it. I think there's a difference between we talked about it, but we never really did a cover-to-cover and really had a in-depth discussion about it. We are sponsored, as always, by DCB Service and InStockTrades.com. Mr. Segulin, what is going on over at DCBService.com?
We have Tales of the Titans, issue 1 of 4, 50% off, only $2.49. And we have Superman, The Last Days of Lex Luthor, issues 1 of 3, 40% only $4.19. Thank you, DCDS.
Over at InStockTrades.com, they have the DC Pride, the New Generation hardcover, $19.99 regularly, 50% off, only $9.99. Poison Ivy hardcover volume 1, the Virtuous Cycle, $24.99 regularly, 50% off, only $12.49. I'm going to correct myself there. If you have not read this book, it is outstanding. Highest possible recommendation for Poison Ivy. I want to thank DCB Service and InStockTrades.com for continuing to support our show. Mr. Segulin, what kind of a podcast are we?
Raging Bullets is a spoiler podcast. We go in-depth into plot lines, story twists, and whatnot of the comics we're discussing on today's show. So, if you haven't read the books, you may want to come back later so you can better enjoy the show.
You do know we're not talking about that this episode, right?
I know. I was just excited.
All right. Let's talk some comics. Our first discussion this episode is going to be of Green Lantern #1. The opening story is Back on Earth. The writer is Jeremy Adams. Artist and cover artist is Zermanico. The colorist is Romulo Fajardo Jr. Letterer is Dave Sharp. Variant covers by Ivan Rice and Marcelo Meolio. Lucio Perillo, Daniel Sampier, Alejandro Sanchez, Ariel Colon, Pete Woods. Assistant editor is Gillian Grant. Associate editor is Ivan Cohen. And the editor is Paul Kaminsky. And apologies for any name butchery. We're going to talk first about the Hal story, and then we'll do the creative team for the John Stewart story. But I think just kind of maybe overall impressions of... maybe we should just talk about each individual story and overall impressions. So I know out of the two of us, I am more of the Hal guy. I guess as I was looking at this book, what I was really looking for is what this book gave me. I've been enjoying Green Lantern since, if you go back to the Johns, Tomasi, kind of the golden era of Green Lantern, right? Where we had that era where Green Lantern seemed to be the flagship of what was going on over at DC. The big events were happening there. We got Blackest Night, we got Brightest Day, all that kind of stuff spinning out of, amazing Green Lantern crossovers. We got the Color Core and all that stuff. It was just like this excitement around Green Lantern. I've been enjoying Green Lantern since then. There's been some good books. There's been some good stories. There's been some great stories. But I haven't felt that draw, like that need that I was having before, where Green Lantern was like, I've got to read Green Lantern first. I need to know what's going on in Green Lantern. Really, since that era, this had a feel for me, an excitement, a fun factor to it, a draw. I think it felt like almost, Hal was coming back to Earth. And he's been gone a long time, and he's trying to pick up right where he left off. He almost feels like I feel as a reader. Like I'm trying to pick up where I left off, and I'm feeling like a little bit like a fish out of water with the Green Lantern world. And there was something inviting about that to me, like where Hal's at right now kind of matched but where I was emotionally. I was really engaged by this story. Like it was a page turner. Hal's my guy. So there was a deep connection with who Hal is. Artwork is fantastic. I love what they were doing with Carol. I love the idea that we've got Hal. Basically, he's like a renegade again, which I always like Hal when he's kind of the one that's, I'm not going to just blindly toe the party line. I don't agree with what you're doing. I don't agree with you isolating Earth and, pulling away the Earth Green Lanterns. I'm going back home and we're going to, make some music. and I really just was engaged by the story. It had something, that special flavor for me, at least, that it's something I've been longing for in a while. There's an accessibility. I feel like I belong here that I haven't felt in Green Lantern for a while. That's me. Where are you at with? The Hal story. We'll talk about the John story afterwards. So maybe separate the two. Is that possible?
Oh yeah. Well, here's the thing, and it's funny. You and I have very similar grooves going on with Green Lantern because, we had the golden era of Green Lantern where everything was surrounding it and the core was there and everything was just absolutely wonderful. And I was like, yes, it's great to be green, and I was very happy. And then things started changing. Creative team changes, and this changed, and then this changed. And as the story would start to build, it would just kind of hit pause. It didn't come to a complete ending. Yeah. It paused, and then they changed stuff. And now you're like, wait, hold on, because a new creative team came in and they tweaked it and they changed it, and you're like, and it kept it was stuttering. For lack of better description. And you'd get some good stuff and you'd have entertaining read, but it would then stutter again. It would flicker. It would change. And, and you're like, okay, now what? Okay, now what? And I kept having that same, okay, now what? And it did start getting annoying, and so for me, when they announced, okay, Green Lantern #1, okay, are we going to continue on? What are we going to do? And we're getting glimpses and connections. So it's kind of like, our current creative team is trying to make everything that happened before fit in the universe. I kind of compare it to what Jeff Johns did with Hawkman, where he really just revamped and made everything correct and fit. Mm-hmm. And I feel like that's what this creative team is doing. So I'm getting positive vibes that way. Mm-hmm. And then I'm getting a solid story. So I'm reading good stuff. So I'm happy when I'm reading. So you get a solid story. It looks like maybe they're fixing it. So it's... I'm optimistic about the Green Lantern universe, but again, in the past I've been optimistic. Okay. And it's like we'll have in the past where just even some of the recent stuff where it looks like okay they're building the core this way. Okay, they're going pause. What do you mean pause? What do you mean stop? You can't stop a story mid. You can't stop it midway, guys. Give me a beginning, middle, and end, and I'll be happy. And they never gave us that beginning, middle, and end. They gave us a pause. So what I read was good. The artwork was beautiful. So I'm very happy with this book, but I'm not as excited as I am with the Superman universe or the Bat universe, because, they're giving a continuation. They're giving me a solid beginning, middle, and end, and then the continuation. So right now, we got to see if Green Lantern is going to do that for me. So I'm very optimistic. I'm enjoying the read. So that's a plus, but am I going to, 6 months from now, Is there going to be another skip? Is there going to be another pause? I don't know for certain yet. We got to see what kind of run we get here.
That's interesting that you say it that way. I guess and there's nothing wrong with your feeling that way, because a lot of what you're describing is what I was feeling for a while with Green Arrow. I liked the stories. They were good stories. But like you, I was like, okay, I'm getting invested in this creative team. Now we're heading in a new direction. And, there's only so long that you want to keep doing that. You want to actually see a direction build to something. And that was something that I was really longing for with Green Arrow. I don't know if this is just hitting me at the right time where I just really needed like some Green Lantern again. I was at first kind of underwhelmed with the idea of like this is going to be Earth-based, because I like the space aspect of Green Lantern. It's always fun to see them visit planets and get the alien aspect and things like that. There's something about bringing them back to Earth. And Hal, I'll talk about Hal in particular, and we'll move on to John. Something about bringing Hal back to Earth that's kind of grounding me with him, like getting me back to the core, no pun intended, of who Hal is. It's fun to see like this time passage for Hal, and I think that's really where I'm connected with him, because I'm with you with like there was these stuttered where the Morrison run which wasn't bad. It's just I feel like I was disconnected from like this continuity of it, and you're nailing it. I think, boy, a lot of what you're saying is what I was feeling with Green Arrow for a while, and I actually really appreciate the fact that the creative team here seems to be taking stock of what's happened before with the characters. They're getting them back to the basics. And I like that Hal's not instantly back and understanding how to interact with this world. Like the whole drone thing.
Yeah.
Where he's like, well, it's a drone. And, if I was in there, I would have been able to keep it from crashing, with Carol. Because he's trying to fit himself back into her life. And she's like, it's been a while, and she's been moved on, and he's trying to do, weave his magic, and he, clearly he loves her, and there's a connection and history between the two of them, but she's not ready to just say, Hal, you went trotting off. And almost that disjointed feeling that you're talking about, where like there was the stuttering start and stops, is what Carol's reacting to. I think that's where the story's really hitting me. It's hitting me where I was at as a fan. I feel like I'm connecting with where they're at, and they're like, but we're trying to build off of that. I know where you're at. We're trying to build off of that. There's an energy here that I guess was matching so much. Like I was nodding as you were talking about where your kind of your issues have been, and I'm hoping this leads to a run, like a really good run. Where they build off of this, they build a strong foundation and give this a run, because these are characters that are important to me, and it has to be a continuing story. It's the one disadvantage that sometimes these 6-issue minis, which this isn't that, but sometimes have, in the sense that you get a story going, then that story comes to an end, now you're doing another 6-issue mini. I like that ongoing, monthly touch base with the characters. That's why when these 6 issues that are really successful kick into 12 and kick into an ongoing, like Poison Ivy, for example, I get excited about that. Green Arrow kicking into a 12 issue now, yeah, and maybe an ongoing, who knows if it'll lead to that. That gets me excited because it starts giving what you're talking about here, the piece that we really need. I like that Hal's, like, the thing that I always appreciated about Hal is he is one of the most established, one of the the foundational, really strong Green Lanterns, right? The one that you kind of look at as being like, one of the top tier guys, the top tier guy. But he's human. And when you see him with Carol and the fact that, okay, you go jet setting off, Hal, the problem is you have this life as Green Lantern. You come in as a test pilot, and it's all you just instantly reacting and all that. Sometimes you don't think. And I really loved the reality of that relationship between the two of them, where Hal's human. You relate better to the heroes that are human. It doesn't take away at all that I love the fact that he's Green Lantern. What did you think about, because I know sometimes you'd like and sometimes you dislike this storytelling method. We were dropped in at a certain point in the story then it flashes back. Then we move forward, then it flashes back. What did you think about how that was handled in this story, like the Manhunter bit and stuff like that?
I like that. That was a good usage of it. And again, and it's funny because I'm more of a fan of that now.
Mm-hmm.
And they open with action, get us into the character. If they had opened with the Manhunter bit, yeah, it would have been good, but it wouldn't have been as hard hitting as what we got. And you got that great Green Lantern moment, then you got Hal and Carol moment. You got all that stuff, and now we're like, let's tell you how he got the brain. Let's show you that card. And it was a good usage of that. And it's funny, something you said, kind of, I question.
Okay.
You said, obviously Hal loves Carol. I do question that.
Really?
Obviously Barry loves Iris. Barry loves Iris. Obviously Wally loves Linda. Obviously Clark loves Lois. There's no doubt whatsoever in my mind. I've got doubt with Hal. And I'm not saying this to be that Hal's a jerk, but I think Hal likes the idea of having Carol in his life. I don't think Hal 100% is in love with Carol. I think he likes having someone steady. He likes having her around. She's cool. She's fun. She's she knows the pilot. She knows the superhero side of him. He likes having that. But I do question whether he 100% is in love with her. And I think Carol is questioning that as well.
Well,
and I think she's got a right to question, Hal and Hal's intentions and all that stuff.
I think the trick is, and this is where I think their relationship's complicated. See, I disagree. I do think that he loves Carol. I think the problem is, for any relationship to work, right, you have to be able to find that happy place where you aren't giving up yourself, but you're bending, you're compromising, you're meeting the other person where they need to be. I think Hal gets very caught up in the importance of Hal and like the adventure and, being the test pilot and doing crazy things and running off into space and being like, the pomp and like being Green Lantern is like way cool, right? Yeah. Well, it's hard. I think one of the things that I love about the Green Lantern story with Hal is it's hard after that to become then grounded, right? How do you go to a normal life? And in the case of where you have a relationship where you get home for dinner, you do things together. I'll use this year as an example. My wife and I kind of in 2022, at the end of 2022, just had some really strong conversations about like what we both needed from each other. And like we've been kind of like embracing 2023 is just really making sure that we're spending more quality time together, balancing out, her needs, my needs, things like that, doing, things together that aren't just things I want to do, but also like she went with me to the Fan Expo, which she hasn't gone to a convention with me in years and really wanted to go. Not because I forced her to go at gunpoint or anything like that. It was just a conversation we had. And I really enjoyed going to a convention with her again, because we used to do that years ago when we were dating before we even got married. And we've been together 27 years now as a couple. So it's interesting to like all these years later kind of start doing some things together that we hadn't done before. And, for, a decade and a half almost. And I'm doing more things that, she enjoys and stuff. That takes a lot of work, though. And what I mean is you start when you put that work in, there's a benefit to it. We're a lot happier now and we're on the same page. The question is Hal, like you hit a point where you have some of those conversations and you really listen. There's a maturity to that, right? And that has nothing to do with age. I don't know that he doesn't love her. And I think the interesting part is it sounds like I'm arguing with you, but I'm not.
No,
because I think there's a point where you sit there and go, if they are that couple, they can eventually get there. If you're right, Jim, which you may be, then they aren't going to, because Hal's not going to eventually be able to become that person. And I love the fact that I I'm hearing you. It's not that I'm like, Jim, you're wrong. I don't think that. I just don't think the answer is that simple. I think you're right to question me, but I also think I'm right to question you, and that's where they become real. And that's where it's good writing to me, is when you can debate it out, and we could keep going down this rabbit hole and talk about like times where Hal's shown that he's loved her, and even times here where he shows that he loves her. And the things that you see off of Carol that show that she loves him, but also to the point of our debate, are why she kind of is pushing him away right now, because she's clearly moved on. And how much she's moved on remains to be seen. But there's certainly something more here, right? And there's more to that story. And that's where it's compelling, because sometimes you can love someone and it's just not going to work because you can't get there together. And that's an interesting piece, too, to this story. I love that, like, the answer, there's A and B to this, and maybe even C, as far as which way this can go. And this is where I think it's quality writing. The fact that you and I are on this tangent right now, and both have some really strong feelings based on the story, and I think it's cool.
Yeah. And as I said at the beginning of this was a good story. I enjoyed the read. Mm-hmm. It just any doubt I have in the Green Lantern universe is I need the long term. I need to see that long term, and that's going to come with time. Now, as we're going through this was an enjoyable read. It got me thinking off page immediately on Hal and Carol, on their relationship. I was wondering how, with him getting the power, what's going on there. We got a nice answer on that. It does lead to more questions, because he got the power because of his willpower. He was able to absorb the energy away from the Manhunter's uniform. Now, is it kind of like how he had his ring before, where his internal willpower recharged his ring?
Yeah.
Because we've seen Hal do that. Because that's the level of willpower that Hal Jordan has. That's why they say he is the best of the Lanterns, because he can do that. The other thing is, in that bar, when everyone was celebrating, we got our hero back. Who is the guy sitting there in the hood? Looked awful lot like Sinestro to me. Is Sinestro in this universe? What's his deal? Mm-hmm. Does he have his yellow ring? Is he going to be mad that Hal's got a ring and he doesn't? Or does he have his ring? Are we going to get a green and yellow fight again? I don't know. I want to see that, because you never know who said what version of Sinestro we're going to get. Because sometimes Sinestro is Sinestro. Sometimes he's the actual hero of the story. And that's what makes him such a great character. So I want to see what kind of character he is. And on top of that, you do get some we did get some cool Green Lantern moments. And Green Lantern moments for me are not just the physical hero side, but also the look. For me, and on a Green Lantern book, the colorist is key.
Yeah.
Now, the art, pencils and inks, you got to be spot on. But that color always is the one who steals the show for me on the Green Lantern books, on a really good Green Lantern book in my mind. Mm-hmm. And I'll tell you right now, this issue 1, they're doing it. Yep. They're hitting it for me. And again, really happy with the physical look of the book, happy with the story that was told. So right there, that keeps me reading, that keeps me going. If they do a nice long-term storytelling on this universe, then I'll be happy. I'll be like, yes, Green Lanterns are back. Let's bring this on. Let's start expanding. Show me the core. What's going on there?
So let's talk about the John Stewart story. And we don't have to drop Hal, but I think let's bring it into this discussion. So Rise of the Revenant Queen, Part 1. The writer is Philip Kennedy Johnson. The artist is Montos. The colorist is Adriano Lucas. The letterer is Dave Sharp. Assistant editor, of course, Gillian Grant. Associate editor, Ivan Cohen. And the editor, of course, is Paul Kaminsky. So, in fairness, I do think you're more of a John guy. I don't want to say than I am, but I mean, it's more if we're picking Lantern teams, I'm Team Hal. I love John, though. Long history with John. What did you think about the John story? It's obviously a little bit of a shorter story that we're getting in here, but building towards something. What did you think about John's return to Earth?
Well, and again, I always happy when I get a John Stewart story. I want to see him, and it kind of like this is kind of tying into some of the stuff that was on pause before for John, but it's still, I'm not 100% certain where and when this takes place, especially when it's going through and they show John on Earth, and then they show, Guy Gardner, another universe, another time. Okay, where and when is this taking place? You see an older version of Guy Gardner, and I'm like, okay, now I want to know this. Now, again, not knocking the story. This is a good, solid story. Does get me interested. John's back on Earth. He obviously doesn't have a ring, but we know John doesn't need a ring. He's another one of those guys that doesn't need a ring. He has the power inside him. He's transcendent. So is this that John? Is it a different John? What do we got going on here? And that's one of the things for me. This was a good introduction on the story. We know Philip Kennedy Johnson, really good writer. So I'm not worried about their handling of John because, again, that's a good writer. Art team, not 100% familiar with them, but I like the look. So I'm like, okay, I got a writer I'm confident of, like the look, got a great introduction of, what's going to happen with the Reverend Queen. Again, good solid villain that John's fought in the past. So if Hal, they're doing Sinestro, John, they're doing Reverend Queen, okay, let's see where this goes. So again, another story I'm ending where I enjoyed the read, optimistic on where it can go, but I'm not going, yay, woohoo, doing backflips because I don't know where the story's going yet. Part 2, she's going to Earth. She's hunting down John Stewart. So we're going to get John Stewart versus the Reverend Queen, which should be some really cool stuff because John's awesome. It's so, again, happy with what I got. This is a cool story. I liked it. And I did actually, it was funny, the different oath that they have here. I am a traditionalist oath, but I got to admit, this was kind of cool. I am the lantern in the dark, the torch that batters back the night, let evil cower in the light, all who wear the lantern's mark. I'm like, okay, I kind of like that. That's kind of neat, so I'm good with that oath.
But that's also another universe.
Yeah.
And another time. So I liked that it felt very much like our Guy Gardner and all that, but I don't know that it's even the future for our Guy Gardner. Because it's another universe, another time, which could mean that's not actually our guy.
I'll be honest with you, probably not because he lost. Because Guy Gardner's a badass.
I liked him, though. I liked him.
Here's the funny thing. We're talking about like with Hal and all that and John. I am a John Stewart guy just because he was really the first Green Lantern regular series I read. His Mosaic series was the first long-term Green Lantern story I read.
And by the way,
like with the Doctor,
great story.
Whoever brings you to the game, that's your Doctor. My Lantern is John Stewart, and I also like the guys who really know how to write him, who really get the architect, Marine sniper combo. Because that's that in itself. The Marine sniper is a character that's very difficult, to write correctly. Because they're a Marine, so you're thinking, oh, they're hardcore, hoorah, yes, but they're a sniper. There's difference on the sniper. There's a different way a sniper looks at a battlefield than the standard either infantry, would look at a battlefield. And I love the writers who really get that nuance. Add to it, he's an architect, so he's got that mindset as well. I love when writers can really capture that essence of John Stewart. And that's one of the reasons he's my Lantern. Now, Guy is another one that I absolutely hated, and I now absolutely love this guy. He is awesome. Even though he's from the wrong city, I still think he's a great guy, and he is an absolute wonderful Lantern. He's probably maybe my number 2 Lantern. He may beat out Hal Jordan just because you get some really cool moments from Guy Gardner.
It's interesting for me because a lot of my favorite stories growing up were of Hal and Guy, where Guy was kind of the guy you wanted to see Hal come back and like beat out, to be Green Lantern again. I adore the character and I adore his evolution. I adore where the character's gone. He's a very interesting character because he's gone over the years from being like unlikable. There's a lot of actually similarities to Damien and my journey with Damien, where I wanted to smack the little monster, that I actually grew to actually start liking him. He's just an interesting character because as he's morphed over time and he became Guy Gardner War and he was on the Justice League International and stuff, I started to like him more and more. And then obviously the run that we're talking about with Jeff Johns and the team just wound up being this really terrific kind of understanding of who Guy Gardner is and what his relationship is with the others. And that was something that I just really kind of appreciated with the character. John's story and Hal's, I really like that we've got what seems like two Earth-based lanterns, but they're both in very different places. Hal almost at times seems like, I don't even know if I should stick around. I've got, he's really driven by this sense of adventure and, kind of figuring out his place. And, did he make a mistake with the guard, with like not sticking with the Corps and kind of doing his own thing? Because he just wants to still be Hal Jordan, Green Lantern. And I love that. I mean, everything fits Hal. To the point of John, we know what John's been through. And you were so like nailing, we've kind of been dropped back into where John was. And, John's like, I'm not going into space, mama. Kind of a lot's happened and I need time. I'm here. I'm home. I'm not going away this time right now. I need to be here. I need to be a part of this. Obviously, the Revenant Queen is going to bring different ideas to the table. Yeah. I also like that the mystery is the one that unfolding mystery is. So what is John's deal right now? Like, does John have the ability from internal, to be John Gardner Guardian, like she's talking about? Is that not a thing? She certainly seems to think so. What is that going to look like? And I love that mystery is a part of this as well. We did not need to know this issue, his status. Right. And this was the right tease into this story. I really, as a first issue goes, a lot of balance and excitement. I like that the artwork in the back seems to really fit John's story. To your point about color pop and things like that, it has a little bit of a different flavor to what's going on in the Hal story, but both feel like just really well chosen art teams for the story that we're getting for these characters. And when you talk about terrific writing talent, we've got that from this. Mm-hmm. This is the kind of excitement I've been looking for in Green Lantern books. In this first issue, I think you're maybe a little more cautiously optimistic about this than I am. I don't want to be putting words in your mouth, but this just hit me in a way that I haven't felt in reading a first issue of a Green Lantern story in a while. And it's really been since that run. I've liked a lot of Green Lantern since that Jeff Johns, Pete Tomasi era. But I think it's everything. I think you're nailing what the problem's been. And I'm hoping this, I'm aching for this to be exactly what you want it to be.
Exactly, yeah. And you can say I am optimistic. I am hopefully optimistic, kind of thing, or however you worded it. That was spot on, because I want this to be. I'm looking at what I'm getting right now. If this continues, then yes, I will be very happy.
Yeah.
They'll be really good. It'll be a relaunching of the Green Universe, and that's what I want. I want the Corps to come back. I want all the Lanterns to come back. And if we only get John and Hal right now, I'll be happy with that. Give me a beginning, middle, and end of a story arc, and then a continuation. The continuation is the key for me really to be happy. I can read a good story, which right now we're getting a good story, and that's a plus, and that makes you happy. But it's that continuation that takes it to the next level.
Jim, one of the things, and I should have brought this up in the last segment before we kick into our second book, I was watching AEW Wrestling and I actually texted you because I saw the coolest thing ever. Because I've talked about it on the show in the past as something that I wished we'd see. And you don't get a lot of this. there was a really cool ad for DC Comics, Dawn of DC, on AEW Wrestling. And I've seen it a couple times now. So I'm just glad to see that they're taking a chance on this kind of promotion for comics. And I hope it pays off for them, because I think this is a really strong initiative as far as jumping on points for readers, whether it's lapsed readers or even new readers who may want to jump on. I think there's a lot of buzz around DC right now with what's going on with James Gunn, and just the fact that people are aware of the fact that they're kind of doing this reboot, especially before the Flash movie's coming out, which is getting a lot of positive buzz. So I'm hoping that this translates into some people trying out comics that wouldn't have otherwise. I just wanted to shout this out because I texted it to you because I thought the ad was really cool, and it was kind of like, yes, my people representing out there. I was thrilled.
The fact that it's AEW, which is an awesome wrestling promotion, just to see comic books advertised on TV was awesome.
Yep.
Because we see movies, we see TV show advertisements, but I'll be honest, I don't really remember the last time I saw an advertisement for the actual physical comic books. And I was very happy when I saw that. I'm like, yes, more of this, please, more of this.
Jim, let's talk a little bit about Spirit World. Can you kick us off with telling us a little bit about who is behind this book?
Well, next discussion is Spirit World number 1. The writer is Alyssa Wong. Art by Haning, Haining. Colors by Sebastian Chang. Letters by Janice Chang. I believe it's Chiang. Chiang. Not 100%. Cover by Haning and Chen. Variant covers by Dustin Nguyen. 125 variant cover by Trong Nguyen. Lee, Trungle, then Nguyen. Now, I know the last name, it's because I asked somebody one time who had this is their last name, like, how do you pronounce your name? And they're like, Nguyen, but with a slight sound in front of it. So, Nguyen. Now, when you add the L in front of it, I don't know if it's L Nguyen or if it changes around the pronunciation. 150 variant covers by Haning. AAPI Heritage Month variant cover by Zhu Orzu, Orzu. Character design variant cover by Zaneth Zhou, with group editor Ben Abernathy and editor Jessica Chen. And again, apologies for name butchering because I know I butchered them, but this is an absolute beautiful book, so no insult intended here.
I was going to laugh and say, hey, finally we hit a book where we had no name butchery. I think the question here is did we get any of those right? Yeah. And you're right. It's a lot of respect off of that because this was a cool book. And I will admit, walking into this one, I don't want to say I was disinterested. I wasn't. But, this came out of Lazarus Planet. It was a great issue. It teased me enough that I was, interested in reading this. I wasn't, sitting there going, oh, my God, so excited to read Spirit World. But I've been enjoying this, Dawn of DC initiative. And I'm like, okay, new Dawn of DC book. You've got me on board with that. I am really glad I read this. Because kind of when you walk in, not expecting, too much from it, you have an opportunity to be surprised, and I really found a lot to like about this book. This is another one where it's a great example of, I don't know who put this team together or how this came about, but it's a great creative team for this book. I think there is a writing and visual style that matches. I love DC Magic, right? And the idea that we've got not just magic, but I like spirit worlds and all this kind of, when you get into that kind of wackiness, her taking that magic and you got this girl that's crying and turning into that little bear umbrella. It was, my name is Xanth Zhu, and I don't know if I'm pronouncing her name right even, but I'm a spirit envoy. I found myself very early on getting to like her welcoming presence. And I thought the opening with this little girl was a very good way, or her or his, I don't know if, because she was saying Gigi or GG, and, basically implying older sister or older brother. Was it ever determined in this, male or female with her?
At the end.
Or with him? I don't know.
Well, actually, at the end, because when runs into their mother, the mother calls her daughter.
Okay.
But again, I'm not 100% certain that's their gender identification, to be honest with you. It's one of those things where I'm like, I'm not 100% certain if what they identify as. And I just got this, because especially when the little girl's going, little sister, little brother, the little girl couldn't tell. So
and I didn't know if that was because of the haircut or for what it was due to, or if it was intentionally just kind of say, hey, there's something interesting going on here. I don't know. It didn't. It made me intrigued more than, it didn't like distract me or anything. It was more of, okay, I'm really intrigued by this character. So it was, when I'm keying in on tiny things like that, I'm intrigued by the story.
Yes.
It's when I'm ignoring the little stuff that, like, you've lost me. So I found myself compelled to follow every little detail. I wanted to know more about the character. And I like that there's by the end of the book, I feel like I have a grasp of certain things. And there's other things that are supposed to be a mystery that keep me going. That was something that I found compelling with this. I loved the use of John Constantine in this. I thought that was a really important piece. I like that we didn't start like first page with him, but a couple pages in, we've now got him in there, and there's an uneasy relationship between the two because John's all about John.
Yes.
And very well written in this.
Well, here's an interesting thing with this book, because it's the first part of the story is in Dark Fate, and Dark Fate, for whatever reason, slipped through the cracks on my Lazarus Planet readings.
Really?
And recently I was going through all the different Lazarus Planet stuff, making sure I read everything. And I open up the Dark Planet, and when I've read it, it'll start at the back of the book. When I haven't read it, it starts at the beginning of the book. With the digital copies, and I open it, it goes to the beginning. I'm like, did I not read this? So I start reading it. So right before Spirit World came out is when I read Dark Fate. So I went right from one to the other. So I was actually a little bit more excited to read this after reading Dark Fate, because I saw the whole thing with Batgirl getting sucked into the Spirit World. I was like, oh, that is awesome. Continuing Spirit World. Hey, that's coming out next week. Nice. Perfect. So going into Spirit World, I was actually really excited and anticipating for it because I just read Dark Fate. So it was kind of a neat thing for me. So this was one of those books where I was like, I want to see continuing, because again, I just went from one to the other. If there had been a gap, who knows how much of the excitement would have gone down. And before I read Dark Fate, Spirit World was like, oh, okay, it's just another story. I had no idea anything behind it other than it was a new story being launched out, and coming out of Lazarus Planet. Okay, the new Dawn of DC. Okay, I had no idea what it was, but that Dark Fate gave me the intro. Issue 1, read it. I'm like, oh, I'm all in on this one.
Yeah.
And like you, I'm looking at small detail. I'm looking at subtle stuff. I'm looking at, trying to piece together what the story is going to say. Looking off page, trying to figure stuff out. And again, another wonderful creation with Batgirl. She's becoming, I'm absolutely loving her. I remember I didn't have that same connection because when she was first introduced, I wasn't reading her as when she was the solo Batgirl. And it wasn't until later because, when she was orphan, I was like, I kind of like her not having the Batgirl mantra, just that, and just having her have her own style to her. Then I'm like, then we get the Batgirl's title. I'm like, okay, I really love this character now. So the Batgirl's title really, really pulled me into loving her. And then we're now getting her in this, where you're just like, oh, this is just going to be really cool stuff.
Yep. She's a great character, and I was glad to see how that we were using her in this, because it's a really, really good book. She is a character. Cassandra is a character who I've always had an affinity for from her own introduction into her solo series. There's always been something that I've really dug about Cassandra, and I'm glad to see that this book is spotlighting her in the right way. I like that this book, when we get into that meanwhile in the spirit world, and you get that sequence where you've got the two spirits that are just kind of hanging out, you kind of know that, like, okay, this is gonna go somewhere. I'm not really quite sure when it's going to happen, but these two are turning, and it's like in like the bottom panel where they recognize that they smell something alive, because they were teasing that, right? That Batgirl being alive in there makes her like a Lunchable.
Yep.
And I really like seeing Cassandra shine in that world, because she's the major combatant in the Bat family. And she's the one that theoretically couldn't, because of her being trained by David Kane and all that, Master Assassin, she can go toe-to-toe with Bruce. And I really liked seeing her have a chance to stretch her sea legs in this and really be in a situation where she can't completely kick and punch her way out of it. It's about survival. It's about getting away. It's about getting to a point where she encounters people who who recognize she doesn't belong where she's at, and they're trying to help her on some level. This is cool.
Well, it's kind of one of the things I loved was, again, the artwork on this, showing just her scrambling, just to get away from all the dead people who are like, ooh, living, smell, eat, and everyone just after, mine, she's alive, get her, yeah, and just that chaos, again, showing her motion. That is always something that really impresses me when a really cool creative team can give us that fluidity, can give us that motion, especially someone like, with Cassandra, where she has got, each of the Batgirls has their own style to her. She's the assassin. She's the ninja. She is just that precision combat fluidity artist. And you're seeing that in this, and I absolutely loved how they did that. And then you get to, the grandma who, pulls her in and saves her. She's not just going to feed on Cassandra. She's going to try to help her, survive in the spirit world and get her back to her world.
Yeah. Popo and Bowen, right, are the two characters that we get there. I liked the introduction of them. They were engaging. I liked the breaking and entering bit where we got to learn a little bit more about Xanthi. Is it Xanthi or Xanth? How are you pronouncing this?
Yes.
Yeah. I'm admittedly, if somebody listening to this, knows the correct pronunciation, correct us and correct me in particular, because I'm not really sure. And I like the character a lot. So that's why I want to know more. I don't know if she's going to get, some form of superhero name or not, or what that's going to look like. I like that this book feels so different. Like when they're breaking and entering, I like that she's using magic and climbing up those like stairs over the fence, and John's working with her. It's a lot of tete-a-tete between the two of them, right? As far as John's doing this, she's doing that. When they go into the place and immediately she's being recognized, we're all waiting for you. We're so glad you're finally here, because she recognizes that this is a trap. They're walking into a trap. Yeah. It's a little too late because the trap is sprung and the two of them have got to react to it. And it was really, really cool to see this constant sense of danger. Batgirl was in danger. They're in danger. Everybody's surviving by the skin of their teeth, and they're all trying to, they've got the same end game, and it's really more survival than anything else. And it's interesting to see that. I love magic. I liked that this book had an adventure style, but a creep factor too. That was kind of cool. The artwork on this is very perfect because it's got kind of a little bit of an anime spin to it, in what it's doing,
right,
while still feeling like it's grounded in the DCU. And I think that's an intriguing balance because it's working in this. Because I love like Cassandra's costume when they give Cassandra this new kind of spirit world costume. So that way, her clothes...
Well, it doesn't reek of life.
Yes, so cool.
That was the neat thing, because, again, it's magic in the DC universe, but now it's a different version. Like, it's the paper magic. And it's all based on, with the spirit realm, when you burn the offerings, that item goes to the afterlife.
Uh-huh.
So you write down an offering to your ancestor, to your loved one who went away, and they burn it, and it goes on. And I like how some of the stuff where they made some of the comments about how everyone did offerings of money to their ancestors, that money is now worthless in the spirit world because everybody's got so much of it.
Yep.
But not everybody has all the little details, all the finer things in life, because you only get it in the spirit world if they burn the offering. So Xanthi's magic is based on the paper. Because that's the thing with her. She's always pulling out the paper before she creates the umbrella, before she creates the stairs, before she creates the big old sword that cuts things in half. And I loved how that's her little connection to it. So again, they're giving us, some cool magic stuff. But again, there's always we're learning a new, different magic universe. We're learning a new, different universe, part of DC. And I love how we're getting enough of the information to tell us what's going on, but it's an ongoing experience. It's not like a boring lecture, but it is, they've got to tell us the different nuances of it. It's a really good balance on when you tell a story, when you tell the story, when you show action, when you tie the action into the story. Because like with the artwork, anytime Xanthe was swinging her big sword, you saw the paper flying off. You saw that kind of stuff. So I loved how they made sure it was always connected, and little subtle stuff of her pulling out paper at different time. I thought that was a really neat, again, real cool way of using the artwork to tell us the story, to tell us about this type of magic.
Yeah, and I thought that was something that was really important too. The artwork and the style that was used there. I also like the idea that they waited till the end to tell us something about Mom, if that makes sense. I thought that was kind of cool. She encounters Mom at the end, and it's clear that she's been away from home for a long time, if that makes sense.
Well, when she encounters Mom, doesn't Mom say like 15 years?
Yes.
Yeah.
So, Mom thinks she's been dead. And even the puzzled look on Xanthe's face is one of, does Xanthe know that she's been gone that long, or that perception of that? What's the story there? I like that there was I already had these layers of questions as far as who is this character, and seeing the mom and that reaction, and here's the question, is that really Mom?
Is this all part of the trap?
Yeah.
And again, I'm rereading this again. She doesn't say my daughter. She calls her sweetheart.
Right.
So again, we're still not 100% certain on this one.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of neat. I like not knowing everything about. I want to learn more about this character. I want to learn who they are, how did they die, that kind of story. Because obviously they died. They crossed over to the spirit world, but they had the ability to cross back because of the spirit envoy. So, and again, all the stuff you were saying was thoughts that are popping through my head. How did they die? Do they realize they've been dead this long? 15 years. Is the mom going to freak out that they haven't aged at all, in 15 years? Or they're like, hey, no, they're okay with it because their child's back. So, great ending to this issue, because it's further building onto who is Xanthe? Where did they come from? What's their backstory? Issue 2 of Spirit World, we're going to get some more of that. We're going to see more of Popo, laying down the smackdown, because whatever's at the door, once they kick in the door, they're going to deal with an angry Popo, and she's going to open up on her. And I'm looking forward to that fight sequence, because again, the grandma, she's got some power to her. And the mystery of people disappearing from Spirit World. Where's that going playing? How's that playing out? There's so many little stories that they've already given us this taste for what's going to happen next. Really has me anticipating issue number 2. I went into this excited because I just read, Dark Fate. By the end of issue 2, I've got a lot of questions. Was really enjoyed what I read. Looking forward to issue 2. It's going to be, when it comes out, it's going to be a jump on it and read it immediately. This team did a dramatically awesome job to get me into this character in one issue.
Yeah, that's pretty important. When you feel like, hey, in one issue, I want to read issue 2. That's hard to do right now. This is part of that We Are Legends initiative. So we've got 3 brand new series that are 6-issue miniseries that are coming. It's the Spirit World, which is talked about, the Vigil, and City Boy. And boy, for a first one out of the gate, like I said, I was glad I picked it up. I wanted to read it. I was intrigued. I wasn't sitting there clicking my heels together going, boy, I've really got to read Spirit World. Like you, I like Dark Fate a great deal. So they had me. The story did exactly what you need a first issue of the story to do. It got me really a lot more excited for issue 2. I am very excited for this miniseries. If this is what we're getting out of all 3 of these miniseries, this kind of level of quality, I'm really excited for some new. I mean,
Yeah.
and that's something I talked about it before, and I'm a little bit of a broken record with this, and apologies. Part of my biggest concern when they were like paring back the line and then going to be relaunching was the fact that what does this do for some of the experimental books? Well, you can't get more experimental than Spirit World, right?
Yeah.
And this is the kind of stuff I want. I want, a balance of our, we had this great Green Lantern book, and then we've got this. Dawn of DC is really, just a litmus test check-in. Where are you at on Dawn of DC right now?
I'm happy.
Yeah.
I'm very happy. So far, everything we've read has got me going, oh, this is cool.
Yeah.
I'm loving this. So they're shooting 100% right now for me. I'm sitting back trying to figure out anything that didn't have me go, oh, that's cool. That's all, and I don't have it. I think the only issue I have with Dawn of DC is I want these limited series to become long-term runs. Yeah. And they're doing that. So we're seeing that. So I'm like, outstanding. So they're giving me what I want with a really cool story. If they continue on like they did with Ivy, let's take all of these and make these all long-term. Let's all make these all ongoing. Let's really beef up the universe. I'm okay with spending my money on your comic books. Give me them, please.
Well, especially when it's stories that make you want that. You know what I mean? Because I don't remember the last time where it's been a while for me that the entire line has been just getting me much more excited to read it. Like, I've been glad I've been reading DC. I've been really enjoying it. There's been a lot of books that have been great along the way. But there's always been books that have kind of like, well, this one, kind of drifts into the background a little bit. I am finding with Dawn of DC, it's getting me reading a lot more, like each week, I'm reading a lot more day and date, where if it's not on Tuesday when I'm, first seeing the digitals, it's Wednesday or Thursday, I'm getting caught up on it. And I'm finding that I'm jumping to the books in this Dawn of DC initiative, their second, third issues and so on as they go through. And that's not because we do this podcast. It's because of the fact that the books are compelling me in a way that, as a line, they haven't done in a while. We've read a lot of books that we've shouted out and loved how great they've been on the show. I can't remember last time, and obviously we haven't read everything Dawn of DC yet, but I'm really, really enjoying this initiative.
Yeah. It's funny you mentioned the Tuesday pickup, because for the longest time I was the Wednesday is my comic book day. I'm not going to change. You know how I am with change. So I was set. Even though the comics were coming out on Tuesday, I was getting them digitally on Wednesday.
Really?
Just because I was that's Wednesday's comic book day.
Sure.
Well, when the Dawn of DC started happening, I started reading some of these books. I started looking and seeing, hey, what's coming out today? I was looking a day early, and I've started figuring out a way to read books, around the work schedule. Because I've said it before, and I'll say the shorter version of it. My login process, takes a little bit because I've got my VPN and all that kind of stuff, all the secure connections I got to do. So it takes a little bit, physically takes time. And I found that I could get my first read-through in, or an art read-through easily and on the time. So I'll start reading books while the downloading and while the logging in process is going on. So before work, I can read a book. And then as I'm powering down, I can read another book. So now I'm reading, 2 books minimum a day, just around the login and the log out process. So now with Tuesday reads, I'm like, oh, what came out? Oh, I'm reading that one right now.
Oh, that's cool.
So I read it right away. So Dawn of DC has gotten me excited to read, more excited to read books, and has gotten me embracing the Tuesday download.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been a really, really cool initiative so far, and I'm hoping for more of this. It's great to see ads. I think ads are good for comic shops. They're good for digital readers. It's good for everybody, as far as drawing people in. I hope the ads in general are just bringing people to take a look at comics that maybe haven't in a while. So this is some good stuff right now.
Mothman.
Jim, let's start with some speeding bullets. And we've got Batman's reoccurring nightmare. I love this Philip Patrick saying Night Terrors preview. with Ozzy biting off Batman's head.
That's a funny thing. You bite the head off a bat once, and no one ever lets you forget it.
So I'm looking at this Disney Plus, and it's not just Disney Plus. I think other services are doing this too. I'm really cautious about this. I get why they have to do it because of the fact that these streaming services, particularly Disney Plus, they put so much money into content, and they're operating at a loss. So getting rid of some of the shows that weren't quite making it. I know Willow's one of the shows, for example, on Disney Plus that's going to be removed. It's a way to write that off, right? So we won't have that access to that content anymore. I think it's bittersweet for me, or I'm a little bit irritated by it too, is the fact that when you have a streaming service and you buy into it, with the idea that everything's going to be available on this streaming service to watch it when I want to watch it. Some of the stuff they're removing are shows that I was enjoying, or was intending to check out. And I'm like, oh no, now this is what's happening. Should I, is there any way for me to buy this stuff, or should I have watched it first? And I like the variety on streaming services. Now, this means nothing as far as the amount of variety. Obviously, they've got so much stuff on Disney Plus that there's plenty for me to choose from. But boy, was that an interesting, sort of thing that's happening. Do you So we went through the DC streaming service, right, together. When that left, I felt like I missed all those original shows. They were doing some stuff on there that is never going to appear anywhere else, right? And I liked the DC Daily. I liked the contests that they had. I liked some of the original programming that you knew the only place this is ever going to wind up is on an exclusive DC app.
Right.
That's the kind of stuff that Disney Plus is getting rid of, is some of the things that, The World According to Jeff Goldblum is one of the shows that's going away. I really enjoy. It's a wacky kind of show. One episode, he's talking about blue jeans, and he spent 30 minutes talking about the history of blue jeans. But it's Jeff Goldblum talking about the history of blue jeans. I was strangely fascinated by it. And it's actually a really, really good show. But that's being pulled now. Now, it was one of those where I didn't need to binge watch it, meaning where I'm watching episode after episode. But I was gradually making my way through, and it was nice as something that, my thought process was, this is something you'll only find on a streaming service, right? So that's what I liked about the DC Universe one. I hate, to your point about, earlier you were talking about the fact that you're not good with change. I'm not good with things vanishing.
Yes.
And it's the thing where streaming versus ownership gets me worried. Digital versus ownership sometimes gets me worried. I like to know that these things, it's where I don't mind having a stockpile, for example, because a stockpile means I can eventually get to it when I'm ready to.
Yes.
If I'm just reading it on a service that I'm paying a monthly fee for, I'm not guaranteed that stuff isn't going to eventually be purged to help pay for it, right? Wonder Woman 800 is going to introduce Diana's daughter, Trinity. I didn't see this one coming. What are your thoughts? Especially with the link they're trying to say, she's going to be kind of interacting somewhat with Damian and with John Kent.
I like it. I'm digging it. I want to see where they're going to go with it. Who is the daddy is always the big question. Mm-hmm. And I'm curious to see how they're going to explain that, because they're introducing Trinity as a teen adult. So when was the kid born? Because I read the article and they said they're not going to say that Diana was hiding the girl. Mm-hmm. It's going to be some weird timey-wimey thing, I think. And curious how that's going to play out. Because, again, Diana is half God. Mm-hmm. So, the daughter's got some God in her, and who knows what else she's going to have. Because she's the daughter of Wonder Woman, and who knows who the dad is. So there may be other mixed up, stuff may come from that way. So
this is the world with the Gumby method.
Right. So are we going to get a Gumby? I don't know. Mm-hmm. I want to see this. This is something that, and again, the one article has some cool stuff where they're talking just about how you think about it. The older brothers will babysit and stuff like that. They're looking after their little sister, in that, the son of the Bat, son of the of Superman, and the daughter of Wonder Woman. Naturally, the three of those would be together. And naturally it fits. And as much as Wonder Girl was awesome, Diana's actual daughter fits in that mixture a lot better than Wonder Girl did. And I like that they're doing that they're actually making, they're actually giving Diana a daughter. Now, I want to see how she comes about. I want to see what's the backstory behind her and whatnot. So, again, looking forward to starting in 800. That's going to be awesome. That's going to be an awesome issue. And, yeah, I'm all for this. And I like, so they, comment about Trinity is not just, it's a name, but she also has 3 lassos, with each one being a little bit different. It looks like one looks like it's all dark, the other one's all light, and then the other one has the traditional golden lasso look to it. So what's up with the lassos? But it's another, I'm like, who is she? What does she do? Give me more, please. You gave me a great tease, and you got me looking forward to her. So job well done. Now give me the story, please.
Yeah, and I think, we're very used to now seeing, Superman's got like a family, Batman's got a family. Wonder Woman's been developing in recent years a family of sorts between, the various characters that are involved that are unique. I'm interested in this. I like that we don't know everything yet. It just gets me more excited for 800. This is going to be part of another book that's going to be part of the Dawn of DC initiative. And they're making some really, really cool noise. So it looks like, and I don't know how true this is, from HollywoodReporter.com, and Jared comments on this piece, that it looks like only one DC CW show will be returning. If so, I think I hate that, because Superman and Lois and Gotham Knights are both shows that I'm really, really enjoying for very, very different reasons. I don't know. Is there one you could pick? Like if you...
Oh, that's a toughie. Because again, I like them both, and
I do too.
I don't want either one to go, and I don't know. I think my guess, and I hate saying this, but I think they're going to go Gotham Knights. And again, Jared pointed it out: popularity of Superman and Lois versus cheapness of Gotham Knights. And I think they'll go with Gotham Knights, because the special effects that you need for Superman and Lois does take it to another level price-wise.
But it's such a strange thing. If the reason why they're doing it is the cheapness, it seems like such a dumb thing to do today.
Yes, it does.
Popularity would be the thing that you would most want, right?
Well,
the sad part is...
But here's the thing. A lot of the TV people, they don't look at that kind of... They just simply look at a bottom line. And there's been a lot of shows that have been epic shows that are raved on, that have gotten cut because of the cost. And they're like, they say, it's a popular show, it's got good viewership and all that, but it costs too much to make. And shows have gotten canceled, movies have gotten kiboshed because of that. So it's, you'd like to think that the people behind the creative studios would look at the artwork. They don't. They're business people. They look at the bottom line, and I think that's what's going to happen in this way. I don't want it to happen. I want both of them to stick around personally, but my money right now is on Gotham Knights, and I'll be honest, I like Superman and Lois more than I like Gotham Knights. I'm enjoying it. I've continued watching it. I'm continuing watching Superman and Lois. Superman and Lois to me is a better show, but I'm also a Superman guy. But I like the version, what they're doing with Gotham Knights, so I can't say Gotham Knights is not a good show. So if Gotham Knights survives, I'll be happy because I'll get to continue watching a show I enjoy, but I would rather Superman and Lois survive.
Yeah, I guess I like the choice and the variety, so I hope that both are doing well, and because Gotham Knights I felt's only gotten better as the season's gone on.
Yes. Oh, 100%. It's improved.
Yeah.
And I think part of it is the connection of the actors, the connection the audience has with the characters. And that's one of the things that Superman and Lois had an advantage of, even from jump. We know who Superman and Lois are. And that show gave it to us immediately. Then they introduced these cool kids and this cool family dynamic. All right, I'm happy here. So there was already a comfort level between us and between the audience and the characters. Gotham Knights, you had to get that from the start. We didn't know who any of these people are. One is a complete creation for the TV show. Your main character is created for the TV show. So we 100% had to, learn who he is and what they're about. And then you start seeing with the other people and getting that group, their comfort amongst each other, the audience with them. So it's a growing process. So from the first issue to the present, I think it's gotten better just because I'm more comfortable with who these people are.
The Los Angeles Chargers made their schedule into anime again, which was kind of a cool little thing to watch. And we've got the first two singles from The Flash, and you can actually check out the music from the link on our Facebook group. I like, he even says, I want to listen, but I don't want to look at the titles. And he's right. That's one of the things, I think at this point with The Flash, I've seen so much, not in a bad way. I feel like I have really enjoyed every teaser that I've seen. I want the movie now. It's like, let's go. I want to see this film. I don't need to know any more. I'm at the point where you've got me. You've hooked me. You got a movie out there that I want to see. Let me just see the movie at this point. That's where I'm at with The Flash. I'm
big time. Oh yeah, I'm all in. I've loved how they're doing the teasers, how they're doing the trailers, everything. I'm 100% all in on this now. So it's time to it's time to show. It's time for the show.
Yeah. Any more trailers you're doing at this point, you're really, and they need, I'm sure they need to still do more, but what they're doing is they're aiming at the audience that's not me anymore. Aim at the people that, your casual crowd. I just hope this one does gangbusters because I'm just glad to see movies that are making noise, and I just hope that it'd be nice to have a DC themed movie just really making some noise. Doomsday and Bloodwind are returning to the DC universe this summer. And
yes,
boy, the visual look of this is like really intimidating, which has got me excited. And summer's a great time for this, right? Well, we all like summer events, and I like getting excited during the summer. Well, the great part right now is Dawn of DC is already an exciting event. So the idea that this is just going to keep building to something else based on the storytelling that we're getting is really great. Searching for Superman, and we've got a nice little article that James William Stubbs put up from The Hollywood Reporter, basically with the casting details of potentials for Superman Legacy. Yeah. And so far, any of the names that have been thrown out, I'm excited for.
I'm very happy with, especially the Luthor. I like that actor as potentially playing Lex Luthor. And actually the front runner on Superman has again the right look for me. I'm like, okay, I think we can make this work, folks. So I've been a broken record on it. I didn't want the other universe to end, but give me a cool story and I'll be happy. So I think we're gonna, I'm hoping we get something good because there is a commitment to Superman. So give me that commitment.
Jared puts a link to the Comic Book Couples Counseling podcast, and they have an interview with Mitch Gerads and Tom King on Batman the Brave and the Bold. So definitely check that out. I haven't had a chance to listen yet, but I'm definitely going to listen to it. Super cool. James Gunn responds to the Superman Legacy casting rumors, and I'm glad to see this because this is interesting. He's kind of keeping to himself, not giving anything away. Did you see Guardians 3?
Not yet.
Okay. It's outstanding and just has me more excited for the fact that this guy just really understands how to make a movie that hits you in all kinds of, special ways. So I just think I'm ready to see him tackle Superman, and this is going to be cool. So they've got this Batman Returns inspired nearly 4,000 piece set of the Batcave that's out there. And it's like a shadow box style thing. I loved Batman Returns, and the idea of the fact that Have you built any of the more recent like years Legos? Have you like gotten into any of that at all?
I have not. Brother Dave has done some of the massive pieces, and my brother Bill used to do a lot of classic Lego massive pieces. So I know the intricacies of doing one of those things. So that's part of the reason I don't do them, because I know me. I would get frustrated very easily because you got to be, okay, piece here today. And it's very meticulous, very, set, conscious. You got to follow the directions exactly. And I'm not good with those things. So I know me well enough to say, that looks awesome. I would never do it. I would need to have, siblings here or nieces and nephews and say, okay, let's take care of Uncle Jim's, Lego piece, and have them do the work.
So I was given one as a gift of Wayne Manor, from the '66 show, and it's huge and it's cool. I mean, and I thought like, okay, I'm going to finally sit down and put this together just because it was bought for me. But I was kind of dreading it for a lot of the reasons you were saying. I really enjoyed the experience. Like, it was not at all. So strangely, this is something before that I would have been like, that looks really cool. I'm not into it. I kind of think I want that. It's Jared was saying, telling myself, I don't need this. And I'm where he's at. I kind of need this. I think I kind of need this. It's one of those pieces where, he's saying, and the response is, Jared, what is a need anyway? That's cool. But that's awesome. Marv Wolfman, there's a nice article about Marv Wolfman speaking on the fact that why the Teen Titans have endured for decades. And it's really, really cool. So like Everett's like, because it was good. I just reread it. And he's right. That actually holds up really well. The Wolfman and Perez stuff in particular is really, really good. If you haven't read that and you've got the app or you've got the ability to pick up a collection, do yourself a favor and pick that up. What's interesting is that we're going to be getting a swimsuit edition. There's a DC swimsuit edition one-shot. And we haven't seen these in years, but I like that Nort's one of the characters. It's kind of cool. I like that they're doing this. It's kind of fun.
And it's a neat little funny thing, and I will get it.
Nimona, which is an official teaser from Netflix. I hadn't heard about this one before. I did get to watch the official teaser. This looks pretty fun.
Yeah,
June 30th.
Kind of neat.
We've got some interesting Peacemaker comic strip, basically some pages from that. I love peace so much I'm willing to kill for it, which is such a crazy irony. I've become a big fan of Peacemaker. And I like that it's like, it wasn't even Peacemaker. It was a comedy camp version. That's what Gunn does sometimes. No comic purist who thinks that Marvel is relevant or interesting other than dying would think that Gunn's Peacemaker reflects his comic history whatsoever. That was John Cena, not Peacemaker. And yet, I still like the comic book version of him, right?
Well, here's the thing. This is classic comics of Peacemaker saying and doing all the stuff that he did in the movie.
Right.
So, yeah, they did, Gunn did take it, turned it up to 11, to make for the movie to make it more interesting. But this did fit into who Peacemaker was. Now, we had that one Black Label Peacemaker that wasn't as campy. And I really liked that one. That was a really cool story. And that was more of a sociopath, and I like that. But cool. Again, I'm not going to knock this version either, because this is, again, you read it, you have fun, you watch the movie, you have fun, win.
Grant Gustin made a cool comment about, there's 9 seasons, but 10 years of The Flash. And he said, it just felt like time. A lot of people wanted us to get 10 seasons, but in my mind, we did 10 years. We had done everything we needed to do. The characters were in a good place, and we had reached the conclusion. I respect that, where, here's the thing, we're going to, have 9 good seasons, really, really good seasons of this show. It inadvertently brought the Arrowverse to an end, which is fine. I can't believe how long we got that Arrowverse, right? And just how much story we got out of all of that. It's definitely a unique era that I'm rewatching a lot of Smallville right now. I see myself eventually starting to rewatch the Arrowverse and, doing that piece. And I'll be glad to just experience it fresh again, and just knowing that I got a chance in my lifetime to be a part of that really, really cool era. James Gunn brings an end to DC Universe rumor debunks, calls out lies made for attention, and I like that piece. I like that he's kind of, trying to bring this stuff down and just trying to bring some sanity to all of this. Because
and again, when everything first started, we kept saying we need information. We need to know what's going on. And so the rumor mill started flying, and now Gunn, started giving out stuff, and he's doing this stuff. This is the kind of stuff I like seeing. Yeah. He is debunking rumors. Now, is he giving away too much? No, he's not.
Yeah.
So I like the fact that, again, he understands comic book fans well enough to know, sometimes we're needy, petulant children, and you need to just smack us. Give us a light little rap on the side of the head saying, sit down and be quiet. And he's doing that, and I like that. I like the fact that he isn't afraid to fire off on people. He's not afraid, I got to watch out what I say. No, he's hitting it when he needs to. And it's kind of a neat to see, again, it calms me down in that seeing someone who understands the comic book universe, who understands comic book fans, in charge of Superman. It calms me down dramatically, because we've seen he knows what he's doing with comic book movies, so that should, in a way, calm me down. But, again, it's Superman, and I always want long-term Superman stuff. I don't want just one movie pop up and be done. It's not. I don't feel it's going to be. I think we're going to get a nice movie run from Superman.
So Marvel is being allowed to publish Rom. Did you ever read Rom, the Space Knight?
I think I read one issue once. And it was like one of those issues where nothing really happened. So it was like a filler issue, that was connecting a couple different issues. So it was like what the heck is this? I remember reading it, putting it down, saying, I don't know what this is. I'm not going to read it anymore. And so to answer your question, yes, I've read one issue. I've never read anything else. And that one issue I read did not have me going, I got to read more. So kind of neat that this is doing it. I don't know if I'll read it, to be honest with you.
So I read a couple issues of Rom, and I really enjoyed what I read. It was an example of, I kind of like the idea that there was a toy, that was, this is a Marvel and Hasbro, kind of a co-initiative. I always liked that. I am not a big, Rom, if you were to say, tell me something about the story of Rom. Rom was a toy. But, it was a robot, a space knight and all of that, I think. I want to read this just because the issues that I remember enjoying them. I don't, like you, I don't remember, going, oh, my God, I've really got to read more Rom. But I like, it's got some books in it like Power Man and Iron Fist. I love that. Hopefully this Marvel 2-in-1 that Everett's talking about. I would like to read it now when kind of I can get away from what you were talking about. I can read it from issue 1, really understand the story, and see if I like it. Because I didn't have a chance to really read it. So that's something that for me, I will pick this up. But I'm not, I gotta admit, I'm not picking it up for nostalgia because I don't have any nostalgia for it other than I read a couple issues. But I've become very into comic history, and reading books that I didn't have a chance to really, get exposed to before. I'll be interested to see if that grabs me enough that, I have a lot of omnibuses where I'm kind of gradually making my way through, and other ones where I'm reading them a little more quickly, if that makes any sense. I wonder where Rom's going to fall in that list. But I'm definitely going to pick that. I will say, for sure, I'm definitely going to pick that up. So this is an appropriate way to stop. Jared posted this comic strip. It's a Batman panel. Wait, I made an area in my cave dedicated to you. Would you want to come and see it? The Shadow has no time for your nerd shrines, nerd. I don't know what that was from, but I want to know the rest of the context. What led to that?
Where did that come from?
Yeah.
Yes, please.
Because he just pretty much bullied Batman. Or at very least dogged him pretty well. I have no time for your nerd shrines, nerd. Thank you for everybody that contributes to that particular section, though. That was kind of a fun way to wrap up.
Holy caffeine!
I would like to remind everyone about our show voicemail line. It's 1-440-388-4434 or drnorge on Skype. RagingBullets@gmail.com is our email address. RagingBullets.com is our show website. It feeds into Twitter, feeds into our Facebook fan page. We are proud to be part of a stellar Facebook group community, and they actually big contributors. That's where our Speeding Bullet segment comes from. Thank you to everybody that goes on and curates anything that you want us to shout out or talk about. We really appreciate that. The About Us section of our show website is where you're going to find out details about how to connect with us on gaming platforms. I just put my Nintendo Switch handle on there. Social media, just various things like that. We like connecting with all of you, so we want to make sure you can connect with us in whatever way that you so enjoy. We are sponsored as always by DCB Service and InStockTrades.com. Mr. Segulin, what is going on over at DCBService.com?
We have Tales of the Titans, issue 1 of 4, 50% off, $2.49. And we have Superman, The Last Days of Lex Luthor, issues 1 of 3, 40% off, only $4.19. Thank you, DCBS.
Over at InStockTrades.com, we once again have the deals of the week. We have DC Pride, the New Generation hardcover, $19.99 regularly, 50% off, only $9.99. Poison Ivy hardcover, Volume 1, The Virtuous Cycle, $24.99 regularly, 50% off, only $12.49. I want to thank DCB Service and InStockTrades.com for continuing to support our show. Our next episode, we're continuing our look at Dawn of DC. We're going to be focusing on Cyborg and Titans. So we will see you then.
Bye.
All right, you guys. Are you ready to sing your song?
I'd say we are. Yeah, let's sing it now.
Okay, this should be fun. Now get ready for your cue. Okay, Sean?
Okay.
Okay, Jim? Jim? Jim!
Okay. Raging Bullets time is here. We talk about what we hold dear. Comic books and TV shows. Superheroes and their clothes. Justice League and so much more. I just love Green Lantern Corps. We talk about the books we've read with spoilers straight ahead.
Okay, fellas, get ready. That was very good, Sean.
Naturally.
Jim, you're a little flat there, so be careful. Jim? Jim? Jim!
Okay. Justice League and so much more. I still love Green Lantern Corps. DC Comics are what we know. The Raging Bullet Show. DC Comics are what we know. The Raging Bullet Show.
Excellent job, guys.
Let's sing it again. Yeah, let's sing it again.
No, that's enough. Let's not push it.
Push it. What is that? Yeah, what are you talking about?
No, I didn't
What
mean
are you
anything
trying
by
to say?
that.
I think we did it right
Jim,
there. I don't know.
how long do you want the song to go?
Look, it's our production.